There are places on Earth so beautiful that they make us feel like we have just walked through a space gate to another planet in the universe. In those places, nature does not look like normal green forests, blue seas, or gentle mountains, but it wears strange and unreal shapes that are hard to believe. There are flat salt deserts that reflect the sky like an endless mirror, where the line between the land and the sky completely disappears. There are giant rock pillars that rise in the sea of clouds like a floating city of giants. There are lakes with pink, red, or turquoise colors that look like they were mixed by the color palette of the universe. Some places have dry and cracked ground, like the surface of Mars. Some other places are deep blue and shine inside dark caves, like a small galaxy quietly moving under the ground. When people stand in front of these scenes, they suddenly feel very small, and their imagination is pushed to the limit. All the senses are awakened. You hear the sound of waterfalls echoing in the big forest, feel the hot air rising from geothermal land, and touch the rocks that time has shaped for millions of years. Then we realize that the greatest wonder is not on far planets in space, but right here on this blue planet, where nature never stops creating masterpieces that are greater than any science fiction story. Hidden in Hunan Province, Zhangjiajie is a place that makes visitors feel like they are walking into the world of Pandora in the movie Avatar. Thousands of tall sandstone pillars, hundreds of meters high, rise straight into the sky, covered with green trees and often surrounded by light mist, creating a scene like floating mountains in the air. The landform here was formed over millions of years by erosion and weathering, creating steep cliffs that almost seem to challenge gravity. When you stand on the transparent glass bridge across the deep canyon, you can clearly feel how small humans are in front of the great nature. In the early morning, when fog covers the whole valley, the view becomes so unreal that it is hard to believe it exists on Earth. Zhangjiajie is not only a travel destination, but also proof of the endless creativity of nature. Located deep inside Kanaima National Park, Angel Falls is the highest waterfall in the world, with a height of nearly 1,000 meters. The water falls from the top of Oyan Tepui Mountain, an ancient table mountain that is typical of the Guyana highlands, and it creates a breathtaking and majestic view. From far away, the waterfall looks like a thin white ribbon falling freely from the clouds down to the Amazon rainforest below. Because of the great height, most of the water turns into mist before it touches the ground, creating a soft water spray around the base of the waterfall. Located on the border between Argentina and Brazil, Iguazu is not just a single waterfall, but a system of more than 270 big and small waterfalls that stretch for almost 3 kilometers. The sound of falling water can be heard from far away, like the roar of a giant creature. The most impressive part is Garganta del Diablo, Devil's Throat, where the strong water falls down and creates a thick mist that rises high into the sky. From above, the whole area looks like a moving painting where water, rocks, and light mix together to create a spectacular view. The feeling of standing on the walkway near the edge of the waterfall makes your heart beat faster as the cool water spray touches your face. Iguazu is not only a natural wonder, it is like a gate to a wild world where nature shows its powerful and magical beauty. Hidden in the desert of Arizona, Antelope Canyon is a narrow slot canyon that was formed by millions of years of floodwater eroding red sandstone. When you walk inside, you can see rock walls that curve softly like frozen ocean waves. Sunlight shines through the openings above and creates bright vertical light beams, making the whole space look like it is lit by natural stage lights. The colors inside the canyon change all the time depending on the angle of the light, from deep orange and bright red to dark and mysterious purple. The narrow and very high space makes you feel like you are walking inside a giant sculpture made by nature. Antelope Canyon is not wide or majestic in the traditional way, but its soft and unreal beauty makes it look like a far desert planet in science fiction movies. Salar de Uyuni is the largest salt desert in the world, covering more than 10,000 square kilometers in Bolivia. In the dry season, the surface is a pure white salt layer that stretches to the horizon and creates a wide and empty view, like the surface of an icy planet. The most amazing time is during the rainy season, when a thin layer of water covers the whole area and turns Salar into a giant mirror that perfectly reflects the sky. At that moment, the line between the land and the sky completely disappears, and makes people feel like they are floating in the universe. The sunset here is especially spectacular, when clouds and light color the whole space like a surreal painting. Salar de Uyuni is not only a destination, but also an experience that helps you clearly feel the endless and absolute quietness of nature. At first sight from above, Lençóis Maranhenses looks like a giant white desert that stretches endlessly. The thing that makes this place surreal is the thousands of freshwater lakes in turquoise and blue colors that appear between the sand dunes during the rainy season. Tropical rains collect water in the low areas between the dunes and create a system of temporary oases that shine under the sun. The view of smooth white sand dunes that curve like frozen ocean waves, with clear water between them reflecting the sky, makes this place look like a desert planet with life. What is special is that even though it looks dry, this area still has a unique ecosystem, with fish and microorganisms that adapt to the seasons. Walking between the sand dunes at sunset, when the sunlight turns the whole scene golden, you will feel like you are lost in a dream in the universe. Danakil Depression is one of the hottest and most extreme places on Earth, with average temperatures that can go above 40 degrees Celsius. However, these extreme conditions create one of the most surreal landscapes on the planet. The ground here is covered with sulfur, salt, and minerals in bright yellow, orange, and green colors that look like a living chemical palette. Boiling acid lakes and geothermal springs that release white smoke make you feel like you are standing on the surface of a young volcanic planet. At night, the stars spread across the dark sky and make the scene feel even more out of this world. Danakil is not a place for easy travel, but for people who love adventure. It shows how strange Earth can look when nature shows its raw and powerful force. Yakushima is an ancient forest island located in the south of Japan, and it is famous for its cedar trees that are thousands of years old. The air here is always wet. Light mist floats in the forest, and green moss covers every tree trunk and rock, creating a mysterious scene like a spirit world in a fairy tale. Light passes through the thick leaves and makes soft light beams, so the whole forest looks like it is breathing. Many people believe that Yakushima was the inspiration for the animated movie Princess Mononoke by Studio Ghibli. When you walk on the wet forest paths and hear the sound of flowing water and birds in the trees, you feel like time has stopped. Yakushima is not only beautiful, but it also has an ancient energy that makes anyone who visits feel like they are entering a parallel world. Located in Olympic National Park, Ho Rainforest is one of the few temperate rainforests that still exist in the world. The trees here are very tall and dense, and their trunks are covered with green moss that hangs down like soft curtains. Heavy rain throughout the year keeps the whole forest wet and full of life. When you walk into Ho, you can immediately feel the quiet and magical atmosphere, like you are entering a prehistoric age. Morning mist moves between the trees and creates a scene like in movies about dinosaurs or fantasy worlds. The only sounds are usually the rustling leaves and the flowing stream, which make the experience feel even more natural and ancient. Ho Rainforest shows that even in the modern world, there are still places that keep the wild beauty of the early Earth. Chilenstone Forest is a giant maze of sharp limestone pillars that rise from the ground like stone spears pointing straight to the sky. It was formed more than 270 million years ago, and this area was once under an ancient sea before geological movements lifted it up. Over time, rain and wind eroded the limestone and created tall rock columns that are tens of meters high. When you walk between the narrow, stone streets, you feel like you are lost in a fossil city of an alien civilization. Located on Middle Island off the coast of Western Australia, Lake Hillier surprises visitors with its bright pink color between dark green forest and blue ocean. The special thing is that this pink color is not a trick of light, but stays all year, and it is believed to be caused by halophilic bacteria and the algae Dunaliella salina in the salty water. From above, the lake looks like a surreal paint mark drawn on the map of nature. The strong contrast between the three colors, pink, green, and blue, makes this place look like a CGI scene in a science fiction movie. Even though it is not very large, Lake Hillier has a strong attraction because of its illogical beauty, as if nature has broken the normal rules of color. When you stand in front of this lake, you will feel like you have just arrived on a planet where nature has a completely different color palette. Lake Baikal is the deepest and oldest freshwater lake in the world, and in winter, it becomes a scene that looks almost like another planet. When the temperature drops very low, the lake freezes with ice that is meters thick, but instead of being cloudy, the ice is clear like crystal. Under the ice, methane bubbles are trapped and form around shapes on top of each other like frozen flying saucers. Long cracks that are many kilometers long run across the surface of the lake and make strange echoing sounds, which make the scene more mysterious. When sunlight shines down, the ice reflects a deep blue color and makes you feel like you are walking on a frozen ocean on a far, icy planet. Baikal is not only a natural wonder, but also a symbol of the power and absolute silence that nature can create. Walking into Waitomo Cave is like floating into a small universe deep under the ground. The ceiling of the cave is covered with glowing insects, which are actually the larvae of the species Arachnocampa luminosa, and they create thousands of small blue lights shining in the darkness. When visitors sit on a boat and move slowly along the underground river, above their heads is a natural starry sky that looks magical. The soft light reflects on the calm water and makes the space feel almost weightless. Recognized as the largest natural cave in the world, Son Doong Cave is a separate world hidden deep inside the limestone mountains of Quang Binh. Inside the cave, the space is so large that it can hold a skyscraper, with giant stalagmites that are tens of meters high and an underground river flowing through it. Especially, natural sinkholes in the cave ceiling allow sunlight to shine inside and create small forests that grow right in the cave. Light mist, green plants, and ancient rock formations combine to form a scene like a forgotten planet. When you enter Son Doong, you are not only visiting a cave, but also exploring a separate ecosystem where nature has worked in its own way for millions of years. Socotra Island is often called the Galapagos of the Indian Ocean because of its unique and isolated ecosystem. About 1/3 of the plant species on the island do not exist anywhere else in the world. The most famous plant is the dragon's blood tree, which has a wide top like a giant umbrella and dark red sap like blood. The whole landscape of Socotra, from limestone mountains and wild beaches to dry grasslands, has a surreal appearance. When the sunset comes, the shadows of the dragon's blood trees become long on the ground and create a scene like in a science fiction movie. Socotra is not only strange in shape, but also strange in feeling because it is quiet, wild, and almost separate from the modern world. This is a place that makes people believe that nature can create designs that are far beyond human imagination. Lake Natron is one of the strangest and most extreme lakes in Africa. It is located at the foot of the volcano Oldoinyo Lengai, and it has very high alkalinity, which makes the water look red, orange, or bright pink depending on the season. This color comes from bacteria and algae that can live in salty water rich in minerals. When the water evaporates, salt crystals remain on the surface and create white patterns that make the place look like a burned desert planet. In a special way, animals that fall into the lake can become stone-like because minerals cover their bodies, which makes the lake even more mysterious. Even though it is extreme, Natron is an important breeding place for flamingos, and this creates a strange contrast between life and a harsh environment. The view here makes people feel like they are standing in a world that is both beautiful and dangerous. Hidden in the canal system of Xochimilco, the island of the Dolls is one of the strangest and most frightening places in Mexico. Hundreds of old dolls with missing arms or legs and faded colors hang from trees and are spread around the small island. According to legend, a man who lived alone hung them there to calm the spirit of a little girl who drowned nearby. Over time, wind and rain have made the dolls look more damaged, and their empty eyes seem to stare at visitors. When night comes, the scene becomes very scary, as if you are walking into a supernatural horror movie. Even though it is not a natural wonder, the island of the Dolls still feels unreal, where the line between legend and truth becomes unclear. In the middle of the vast Pacific Ocean, Easter Island is famous for nearly 1,000 giant Moai stone statues made by the ancient Rapa Nui people. The statues are from a few meters to more than 10 meters tall, with long faces and distant eyes, and they stand quietly on the windy grassland. No one knows exactly how the ancient people moved these stone blocks that weigh many tons, and this makes the island even more mysterious. When the sun sets, the shadows of the Moai statues become long on the red ground and create a scene that is both majestic and lonely. Easter Island is like a remnant of an ancient civilization that was forgotten and left in the endless ocean. Giant's Causeway is a group of more than 40,000 hexagonal basalt columns that fit closely together like a perfect building. The stone columns were formed from volcanic lava that cooled about 60 million years ago and created a natural structure that is almost perfectly symmetrical. From far away, they look like giant steps going down to the sea. And in the past, people believed that this was a road built by giants. Sea waves hit the shiny black rocks and create echoing sounds under the grey sky that is typical of Northern Ireland. The combination of perfect geometry and wild sea scenery gives Giant's Causeway a surreal beauty, like a monument from the prehistoric time of Earth. Cappadocia is famous for its fairy chimneys, which are cone-shaped rock formations created from volcanic ash and erosion over millions of years. The whole area looks like an ancient stone city, where people carved into the rocks to make houses, churches, and even underground cities. At sunrise, hundreds of colorful hot air balloons float in the sky and create a scene like something from a fairy tale. The mix of unusual geology and historical marks makes Cappadocia one of the places that feels most like another planet. When you walk through the soft rock valleys with warm colors, you can feel the connection between nature and humans in a space that is almost surreal. The Scottish Highlands are a land of mist, deep lakes, and rolling hills that stretch to the horizon. The scenery here is often covered with a special silver-gray light, which makes everything look magical like in ancient Celtic legends. Empty valleys, old stone castles, and calm lakes like mirrors create a feeling of charming loneliness. When the wind blows across the grass and low clouds move over the mountaintops, you may feel like you are standing in a parallel world where time moves more slowly and nature has complete control. The Scottish Highlands are not bright with many colors, but their quiet and wild beauty makes them look like an ancient planet that humans have not fully touched. In late spring and early summer, lupin flower fields bloom around Lake Tekapo and color the shore with purple, pink, and blue next to the turquoise water. The contrast between the clear sky, the blue lake, and the bright flowers makes the whole scene look like a surreal painting. At night, Tekapo is in a dark sky reserve area, where the sky is full of stars and you can see the Milky Way with your own eyes. During the day, it is bright with flowers, and at night it shines with stars. And this change makes the place feel like a planet with two faces. When you walk along the lake in the light wind, surrounded by moving flowers, you will feel like you are stepping into a world where nature shows its most perfect beauty. Tsingy de Bemaraha is a unique stone forest with thousands of sharp limestone spikes rising straight into the sky like giant knives. It was formed by the erosion of an ancient limestone plateau, and the area has a complex geological maze that is almost impossible to cross without suspension bridges and safety ropes. From above, the whole place looks like an alien stone city, with many sharp towers standing close to each other. Sunlight shines on the edges of the rocks and creates strong light and shadow effects, which make the scene even more surreal. Under the rocks that look dry and empty, there is actually a diverse ecosystem with many unique species. Chingy is not only a geological wonder, but also proof of the strange changes that nature can create over millions of years. Hidden deep under the ground of Cappadocia is Derinkuyu, a multi-level underground city that could hold tens of thousands of people. It was built in ancient times, and its system of tunnels, rooms, storage areas, and water wells goes more than 60 meters below the surface. The narrow, dark, and winding spaces make people feel like they are exploring a secret base of another civilization. Huge round stone doors were used to block the entrances, and they make the place even more mysterious. When you walk through the ancient corridors, you can imagine the life that once happened underground to avoid war and invasion. Derinkuyu shows that sometimes the feeling of being alien is not only in natural landscapes, but also in the amazing ability of ancient people to adapt and create. Death Valley is one of the hottest places in the world, with temperatures that were recorded above 56 degrees Celsius. The landscape here is dry, cracked, and endless like the surface of Mars. Golden sand dunes, white salt flats, and moving rocks on the flat ground create a mysterious look that is hard to explain. When the sun sets, the sky turns orange and red and reflects on the dry land, which makes the whole space look surreal. Even though it has a frightening name, Death Valley still has strong life that survives. And this shows that even in the most extreme conditions, nature can adapt. When you stand in this wide valley, you may feel like you are on a far desert planet. Torres del Paine is famous for its tall granite mountains that rise straight up and reflect on the clear turquoise lakes. Strong Patagonia winds blow across the wide grasslands and bring a feeling of wild freedom. Icebergs float slowly on the water, and blue glaciers create a cold but majestic landscape. When sunrise shines on the three famous stone towers, the whole mountain range glows in bright pink and orange colors. The mix of ice, rock, water, and wind makes Torres del Paine look like a planet where natural elements are still being formed. This is a place for people who want to feel the pure greatness of nature. Halong Bay has thousands of limestone islands rising from the turquoise water and creating a magical scene like a maze in the sea. Morning mist covers the mountaintops and makes them look like they are floating in the air. Caves hidden inside the rocky islands open into large spaces with sparkling stalactites. When the sun sets, orange and golden light reflects on the calm water and creates a scene that is both romantic and surreal. Halong is not only a World Natural Heritage Site, but also a proof of the soft yet powerful beauty of the sea over millions of years. Pamukkale, which means Cotton Castle, is famous for its white limestone terraces formed by mineral water rich in calcium flowing down for thousands of years. The small clear pools reflect the blue sky and create a feeling like cloud steps leading to heaven. When sunlight shines on the bright white surface, the whole area glows strongly, like an icy planet in a dry land. Visitors can put their feet in the natural warm water and relax while enjoying the surreal view around them. Pamukkale is proof of how nature can turn simple minerals into a fascinating visual masterpiece. Jangye, also called the Rainbow Mountains, is famous for its mountain ranges with layers of red, orange, yellow, and green colors. The sedimentary rock layers were formed over millions of years, then lifted up and eroded, which created curved lines like a painting. When the sunlight changes, the colors of the mountains also change, from soft at sunrise to bright at sunset. From far away, the whole area looks like a giant oil painting created by nature. Jungyedangsya makes people believe that Earth can sometimes look as colorful as imaginary planets in science fiction stories. Jujaigu is a valley of many layered lakes, with colors that change from blue and green to turquoise. The water is so clear that you can see every fallen tree under the bottom of the lake. White waterfalls fall down in the middle of the ancient forest and create a scene like in a fairy tale. In autumn, the leaves turn yellow and red and reflect on the calm water, which makes the whole valley look like a living, surreal painting. Spotted Lake is a special mineral lake where hundreds of round spots with different colors appear on the surface in summer. When the water evaporates, minerals like magnesium, calcium, and sodium crystallize and create white, green, or yellow circles on the dry ground. From above, the lake looks like an abstract color palette of nature, or the surface of a tiny living planet. For the Okanagan indigenous people, this place also has deep spiritual meaning. The combination of geological science and unique visual beauty makes Spotted Lake one of the strangest and most alien-like landscapes in North America. Amid the vast universe, humans have always dreamed of distant planets, yet sometimes forget that Earth itself holds landscapes just as extraordinary as any world out there. From salt deserts reflecting an endless sky, stone forests rising like fossilized cities, to color-changing lakes, glowing caves, and harsh terrains resembling Mars, each place is proof of nature's limitless creativity. These destinations leave us in awe, spark our curiosity, and make us more humble before the greatness of our blue planet. They remind us that to feel as if we are traveling among the stars, we do not necessarily have to leave Earth, because right beneath our feet, this world still holds countless other planets, waiting to be discovered, experienced, and cherished.